Hello everybody, it's me, Aline. I'm here for a brand new video. I know what you guys are thinking. What? This isn't a vlog? And you'd be right. You'd be absolutely right. Today, I have something a little different in mind. It was actually Michelle's idea. For those of you who are new here, Michelle is my sister, who is my roommate, best friend. We also share this YouTube channel together. Have since we were like in high school, which is actually pretty wild. I was looking at my old Goodreads reviews the other day, and I wanted to make Michelle laugh, so I started reading some of them aloud, and she was like, you need to turn this into a YouTube video, and that's what we're here to do, folks. A little background, I am a writer. If you've just stumbled on this video, I am working on my first novel. Currently, it's like a fantasy, and I have been into books and reading and writing for the majority of my life, but it's super ironic because I started this YouTube channel at the time where that kind of phase was petering out. So I feel like in my life on the internet, I haven't really expressed that much. During the pandemic, like so many people, I got back into reading and sharing my thoughts on books, and I feel like that's so much more like a part of my brand now, is like cozy reading recs, writing vlogs, and stuff like that. I don't think that people realize or understand like how much this was such an integral part of my growing up. Like, I wrote fan fiction in middle school and early high school. I wrote for the Sisters Grimm, if you guys are aware of that series. I wrote a Puck and Sabrina story on fanfiction.net. I also wrote for Harry Potter, of course, because she is that girl, but she's also not like the other girls, so she wrote for Fred and Hermione. Instead of, you know, the classic Ron and Hermione, Draco and Hermione, Harry and Hermione, I said, no. I want her with a ginger, but I want her with a different one than the one from the book. Also wrote, I think, for Victorious, the Nickelodeon television show. Those were the ones that I wrote, and as far as what I was reading all the time. And so I have my computer here, and we're gonna do a deep dive on some of my old Goodreads reviews. They are public, by the way. This was really early to be on Goodreads, so it's not like I had any kind of social media at all. Social media as we know it didn't really exist. Like, I had a Facebook and I had a MySpace very briefly while it was on the way out. As far as Instagram and like TikTok and like influencers as we know them, the idea of performing for our peers didn't exist yet. And so that's why I find this also such a fascinating social study, is because it is so unfiltered, just like raw teen energy. And I don't think we get that anymore. I think that a lot of people who are young are very worried about being cringe. And I was cringe, but I also was free. All right, here we are. I have 154 books. Classic, my inspirational quote that's on my profile is, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself in any direction you choose, you're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the one who'll decide where you go. Which is cute. It's a Dr. Seuss, oh, the places you'll go quote. So, you know, she was an inspiration. She was understanding self-agency. What I'll say about this is that we had to get Goodreads profiles when I was in the 8th grade. It was a part of a reading assignment where basically we were just being encouraged to read as much as we could. And you had to write, I think, just like 3 reviews a semester. And I got really into it, and I said, 3? I'll raise you like 152. So if you can't tell, I was a bit of a suck up and also just a natural born like creative reviewer. I was very sure that if I had an opinion, people would want to hear it, which was pretty bold considering how desperately unpopular I was. I'm gonna start off with one that we are all clearly super familiar with, which is Twilight, because this was peak Twilight time. This was 2012, so I had just started reading the first one, which is actually the only one that I read until last year when I read almost all of them. I don't think I finished Breaking Dawn. Anyway, here it goes. I'm going to do a voice, like a vocal performance, because if not, I will become so self-aware that I will shrivel up and die right in front of you, and that might be, you know, a little much. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's get one thing straight. I have hated, all caps, Twilight for the past 3 years. But then I realized that I had never read the book, and so I decided that I must have an opinion that I can back up. She said, I must do my research before I slander this product. I must say, when I started reading it, I was pleasantly surprised. The book had a certain feel and insight that I very much enjoyed, and I found myself kind of intrigued. Yeah, you were. Besides the weird, pro-life undertones. I was amazed that this was the book I had been bashing for years. But then, alas, came the Edward and Bella fiasco. Don't get me wrong, I love romance and chick flicks and all that good stuff, but I found in this case that I like the chase better than the actual relationship. This logic would in fact destroy my early 20s. It's nice to see the foreshadowing so plainly here. It was just too overdone. Trying too hard to be deep and profound, when really, it was a joke. So harsh. I mean, seriously, Edward tasted Bella's tears! 6 exclamation points. I also had a problem with the fact that Bella fainted, all caps, when Edward kissed her. And do not get me started on the whole Edward's so beautiful, how can he like me struggle. I mean, come on, Bella. Get a freaking backbone and have some confidence in yourself. I don't regret reading this book. It gave me insight into the phenomenon that changed the world. But as a whole, I have to say that in the end, Twilight was everything I thought it would be. And maybe less. That gives you the idea of the kind of raw teen energy that we're talking about. If you can't tell, like, I was definitely not like other girls. I think I did see a lot of the problematic elements, you know, and I gotta respect it. She has an opinion. I think she deleted her account, but I remember my middle school English teacher responded to this review, which also made me horrified because I didn't want to be perceived. I just wanted to, like, write my thoughts and throw them into the ether. I didn't want someone to say, hey, that's a bummer that you didn't like this book. I was like, no, she's watching me. So I want to do another popular one. This is Clockwork Angel from Cassandra Clare's Infernal Devices. I think it was a trilogy. I don't think I ended up finishing the trilogy. I had a problem with like forgetting what happened in the books that I read. And so then when I had to wait like a year or two for the next one to come out, I just like wouldn't remember what happened. And so then I would just not read the next one in the series. I tried reading Mortal Instruments. I think I got 2 books in. They were just never completely my taste. But I did love, you're gonna clearly see I loved Clockwork Angel. Can I marry this book? 5 stars. This is the best thing I've read in months, and I can hardly contain myself. All I can say is, thank you, Cassandra Clare, for bringing this into my life. I love the characters, the plot is genius, and the mysteries were a constant throughout this book. It'll have you crying, gasping, and melting with happiness. This is not a light read and had me jumping in my seat sometimes out of fright. I highly recommend this book to anyone who appreciates the amazing adventures that books can provide. The thing that's so funny is that I cannot tell you like the plot of these books at all. I can tell you that there was a love triangle in these books that I was obsessed with. So the idea that I was also like veiling my obsession for the love triangle as loves for the adventures that books can provide is fucked up. It's like, girl, you are obsessed with like the one girl and these 2 boy best friends, and one of them plays the violin and the other one is the bad boy. Like, that's what you're about. Stop trying to make it seem intellectual. You're not in it for the plot. This is the review for Clockwork Prince, which is the second one in the series, and here you can really tell that I stopped caring about like those twists and turns and things that had me sitting upright or whatever it was, which I wrote 4.5 stars, so it went down. I'm absolutely in love with this series and the characters. So of course, when I was about to finish Clockwork Angel, I ran out to Barnes & Noble to get the sequel. I have to say it just slightly fell short of my expectations. I think it was the lack of progression throughout the book with the Pandemonium Club deal and the Magister, like truly blank. I can't remember what that was at all. I thought that by the end of like 479 pages, we would have gotten somewhere with that side of the story. Okay, so clearly I kind of cared. All right, maybe I'm selling me short. But instead we got a look at the deep inner workings of the main characters, which I really liked. You get to see their motives, fears, and deepest desires, which I really, really enjoyed. Cassandra Clare is an excellent writer, and she is just absolutely wonderful at telling the story from separate point of views, and equally brilliant at keeping the mysteries ever present throughout the novel. I would just like to say and point out, in case any of you guys are thinking this, I have this memory burned into my brain of being in the girls' bathroom and one of the most popular girls in school looking at me and saying the words, "Why do you talk like an old man?" And I can see it. I do think that on some level, this was just kind of how I talked. It's just a little elegant, for what reason? Now, I know I can't avoid it any longer. Sure, okay. The classic, which team are you on? I like how I'm pretending as if people want to know my opinion on the love triangle. Like, I clearly want to speak about it, like I'm bursting at the seams. And I'm just like, I know that I have to say it, because people will be at me, at my throat, if I don't give the people what they want. Question to this certain love triangle. Jem or Will? This is the violinist or the bad boy. I have to admit, I had a really hard time choosing at first. But as both books progress, I had to admit that the only one of the two that I really, really adored was Will. I know he's been really horrible in the past, but as I unearthed Will's secrets, I found myself loving him. I loved his sense of humor, the way he quoted literature all the time. He sounds insufferable. Thought that he had so much more gumption than Jem. Don't get me wrong, I really like Jem. Clearly I didn't. He's really sweet and obviously cares about Tessa. But at the same time, Tessa is clearly not over Will. And I think she messed up when she agreed to marry Jem. Thank God you're letting us know. It's like, I know he's dying, but please, you're in love with his best friend. So in the end, I think that Jem deserves more than a person who loves him with only half their heart. So, to finish this review, 12 exclamation points, all caps. This one is controversial, but I think that I'm gonna read it anyway. We had a unit in the 8th grade, which is, I think, is one of the first units where we really dug into World War II and the Holocaust. They presented us with so many different texts written by Holocaust survivors that are fictionalized or nonfiction, and we really got to pick which ones that we wanted to read, and based off of like our rankings, we were grouped into book clubs, and we were made to like discuss and read through the books that we could kind of selected, so it felt like we got to be a part of the decision of what we wanted to read. You could just have more in-depth conversation about the book. This was Milkweed by Jerry Spinelli, and I do remember this book being like suffocatingly sad. I do remember that. I think it was a lot for me, but like the fact that I rated it 3 stars, if I reread it, I would obviously rate it differently, but the fact that I rated it 3 stars is so funny to me because I couldn't handle how much I was feeling, which is like the most 14-year-old thing under the sun. I just could not believe how much grief I was feeling over this book. And so I wrote, I have to admit that I was scared to read a book that took place in World War II. How on earth can a book about the mass murdering of millions of innocent people have a happy ending? It's like, it's not gonna have a happy ending. The simple answer is that it can't. And this is the case with Jerry Spinelli's Milkweed. Told from the point of view of a little boy who lives on the streets of Poland, the script and story, questionable use of the word script, holds a certain ignorance and innocence. Okay, I think it's because it's told from the perspective of a little boy. The following made especially difficult to read because hearing the horrors from the point of view of a child is very scary and painful, especially when it comes to the way Misha tells his story. He doesn't know what's happening in a small world and he doesn't know why it's falling apart. I like this book a lot, but I can't rate it above 3 stars because it was emotionally painful to read, and that's something I can't overlook. Like, it's like I missed the point. Now I would be like, that's effective writing, you know? And at the time I was like, can't be done. I'm too sad. I'll read a couple of the reviews for other books that I had to read for class, because I think that they're just really funny. The first one was The Big Burn. The Big Burn by Jeanette Ingold. It was a book, I think, about like a huge wildfire incident. I think it might have been in Montana because we were in Montana, and I think The Big Burn could have been a local author. I really liked the effort to kind of spice up the books that we were reading, like very classic books mixed in with stuff that was more like grounded in where we lived and stuff. I think that that's really good for kids to be in tune with their community. The Big Burn was a mediocre read in my opinion. I mean, it was okay. I just felt like through 3/4 of the book, I was thinking, now, is this going to become exciting? And in my opinion, a book should get exciting either the whole way through or around 20 pages in, not like page 167. I also felt like the characters were kind of bland, and I got frustrated with them a lot. Elizabeth was okay though. I like her ferocity and determination. Seth drove me crazy because of his lack of independence throughout practically the whole book, and Jarrett was just there. I feel like he wasn't even fully explored, even though he was the main character. You know, that's valid criticism. Overall, this was a decent read, but I need more from the book than this offered me, so I would not recommend this book to readers. Maybe you would like it, but I just didn't. I think it's really funny. I get told from my loved ones that I'm quite blunt of a person. Like, I have a hard time like being disingenuous with people. The way that I deliver advice is sometimes very like pragmatic and direct. It's really funny to see baby crumbs of my personality embedded in these reviews. Like, maybe you would like it, I just didn't. Like, iconic. Like, she's embarrassing, but she's also, again, she's free. Like, she is somebody that I would like to channel more of on the day-to-day. I feel for like today's youth that they don't have this kind of anonymity while exploring themselves. And the next one is for The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, because she reads the classics. This was for school. I had to read it for school. I loved it. I rated it 4 stars. The Outsiders, 4 stars. Hands down the best book we've had to read in school ever. I loved this book a lot. I loved all the characters, the plot, the clever dialogue, and words that were so 60s. I just always had to repress a giggle when someone said, "I can dig that," or "Pony boy, your hair, your tough, tough hair." Tough is with 2 F's. But it made the book so much more likable and realistic, and I loved that. My one issue with this book? I can't really think of one, but I know there was something holding me back from just full out adoring it. She said, "There's a je ne sais quoi, something I can't put my finger on." But still, this is a fantastic book, and I am really glad that our teacher assigned it for us to read. I highly recommend this book to whoever. Boy, girl, old, young, maybe not too young, but still, this book has a certain quality that makes it so charismatic, but so deep and intense as well. So read The Outsider, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. That's a rave. I'm smelling a rave. Also wild just like seeing which books I rated poorly, like The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, which is like one of my favorite books that I read last year. Again, I think I got scared. I couldn't handle anything that made me feel like really uncomfortable, which is why I loved Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. If you were around on any kind of book platform at the time, like BookTube or like book blogging, that even takes us further back, but if you were involved on the internet with book discourse, Anna and the French Kiss was a huge title at the time. It was like the teen romance. I think I reread the series because they all take place in a different city, I'm pretty sure. One is Paris, one is San Francisco, and the other one, maybe it's back in Paris? New York. It's New York. I remember really liking them. However, there is this plot point in the second one where I know that this girl is still in high school and she's dating like a 30-year-old, and he's not the one that she's supposed to end up with. We're supposed to like hate him and not root for him, but her dads, because she also has 2 gay dads, like let her go hang out with him. Like they didn't like it, but what could they do? It's like, I don't know, literally call the police. So like, get this fucking pedophile out of here. But Anna and the French Kiss is the story about a young woman who is somehow really upset because she's a cinephile who works at her local movie theater in the United States, and there's a reason why they have to like move to Paris, and she has to go to this Parisian boarding school or international school in Paris, and she ends up falling in love and has a will they won't they with this guy in her friend group called Etienne St. Clair, and he has a girlfriend, but we don't want him with a girlfriend. We want him with Anna of Anna and the French Kiss. I remember just thinking that I had never read chemistry like this. I would love to reread it and see if it's as good as I remember. I think that I remember really liking the banter or something. Like that was something that really was hitting. And also I think that St. Clair, the romantic interest, was also a history buff. I remember, of course, because I spoke like an old man and was really into Regency dramas that we bought from Costco in their DVD sets. I remember that being a real turn on for me. I can't scream as loud as I would like because this wall is quite thin. If you can hear my neighbors drilling, you would know. Oh my god, best book ever. Love it, 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 love it. Read it, 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 read it now. Now that I have recovered from my girl attack, she said gendered language, I can state the many reasons why I love this book so much. You see, I'm currently in a production. Sorry. You see, I'm currently in a production of Once Upon a Mattress, and I became so enthralled by this book that I couldn't put it down. And the whole time I was on stage performing a number, I would be wishing that I was back in the green room with Anna and St. Clair. It's worth mentioning that this was a community theater production of Once Upon a Mattress, and I was in the ensemble. I was literally a lady in waiting. The whole time I'm painting this picture, like, the whole time I was in my number. It's like, girl, you were like waving in the back on top of the castle, and only your parents could see you. And also, if you want to get technical, the plot line, brilliant. So are the characters, and Stephanie Perkins' writing is absolutely fabulous. There I literally sound like my grandmother. She's witty, charming, laugh out loud funny, and makes everything that happens in the book seem so real. I accidentally gasped when I was reading it, and all my cast members looked at me like I was a freak, which I am, kinda. God, it's giving that clip of Scream Queens.
Name?
Senorita Awesome.
Also, this is so wild. I definitely did not gasp and everyone looked around at me. Like, that is a lie. So she's giving pathological, she's giving inventive. I recommend this book to girls. Not that guys wouldn't appreciate it, but I think girls can really appreciate the gut-wrenching and toe-tingling story that Anna and the French Kiss is. It makes you really giddy. It makes you cry, and most of all, it makes you really want to go to France. So, I recommend this to girls. Girls who know that the perfect guy for them is out there, and with the right circumstances, faith, and serendipity, you'll find each other. Read Anna and the French Kiss, and I assure you, it will have you half crying, laughing, and screaming with joy when it's over. So, maybe we should end with a rave. I have more if you want more, but for now, I don't want to make this so long that you guys get sick of my teen voice. But yeah, honestly, it's effective. It makes me want to read the book again. So maybe I will. I will say, I think that for a long time, I didn't read the reviews because I was like embarrassed of what they would be like. And not that I'm not embarrassed. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I'm just not embarrassed anymore. I'm sure that a part of this title, this thumbnail, is like gonna include the word cringe. And I will say, I just think that we need to be comfortable potentially being cringy, because I think that the alternative is being bland, right? Trial and error, baby. Like, that's how you like refine your personality down, is by taking some kind of risk. I think that these reviews are also touching because even though I was very insecure, and even though I had a lot of fears and anxieties and things that I didn't like about myself because the world was telling me that those things were bad, I think that I was pretty good at sussing out what still felt authentic, you know, and chasing that feeling. It's just really cute, especially since like now I'm a writer, I'm writing my own book. It just feels like those things were always inside of me, like somebody who was drawn to like a good story. It's just cute. It's just kind of cute. And I think very fondly of her. She clearly was really intense, but I don't know, I'm kind of intense. But also, I think that being young is being intense because you're literally feeling and seeing and reading things for the first time that you're just like, my mind can't handle it. It's too much. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, please do. Post stories all the time. Sometimes I post about what I'm reading, and on TikTok, I mostly post like writing content. So if you want to follow along with me over there, you can. If you want another one, let me know. I do have some more material, but for now, this is just a cute little one-off. I hope that you laughed. I hope you thought this was silly, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.